Hello, welcome to one of the most important videos you'll watch this year.
Now that's quite a statement.
It is. In the short time it takes to complete this session, you'll be more comfortable recommending and serving wine. And this comfort level is going to increase your value as a server.
Restaurant sales are growing every year. This means greater opportunities for you. If you're comfortable with your wine knowledge and skills, you'll sell more wine. Sell more wine and you increase your bottom line. It's really very simple. People want to have a good time. They want good food, good wine, and definitely good service. When all of these ingredients blend, you have very happy customers.
Your role as a salesperson and how you perform it is so important. And yes, you are a salesperson. For yourself and for your restaurant, your service and approach actually have more impact on the success of a meal than any other single element. We're all different. We all have our own unique approach. What we want to do today is increase your confidence level with wine. The rest is up to you. So here's what comes next. Key info on the Big Dozen. Wines, of course. We'll look at all the information that's right on the label. How to open and pour wine, simple procedures made easier with practice. And the best part, tasting. And the basics of food pairing, as well as a few other tidbits thrown in for good measure. Wine is fun and it's sophisticated. What more could you ask of a beverage? Right, Doug? I'm curious, after all the testing and tasting to become a master of wine and a master sommelier, you still find that wine is fun?
Absolutely. Wine is fun. It's delicious, and it offers an infinite variety of flavors.
Then why are people so afraid of it?
Well, they certainly don't know their way around it. Starting with what is in the bottle. There are lots of great wines out there, more than most people can even keep up with. So how do you deal with all there is to know? Easy, by not trying to learn everything. If you understand the basics of the Big 12 wines, you're in business. They are, in order from lightest to richest: Pinot Grigio, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, which is also called Fumé Blanc, and Chardonnay for the whites. And the reds are Pinot Noir, Merlot, Sangiovese, but we're going to call it by its place name, Chianti, Syrah, or maybe you know this as Shiraz, which is what the Australians like to call it, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Zinfandel. Now, as I just mentioned, these are in an order that starts with the lightest bodied wine and it ends with the fullest. We can talk more about body later. Right now, I'm going to give you some basic information about each of these wines, starting with Pinot Grigio. This is the Italian-made version of the French or American Pinot Gris. This Italian version has become very, very popular, probably because of its light crispness, like slices of green apple. Riesling is the great white grape of Germany and produces some of the world's most delicious wines. Many of them produced in this country, in states like Washington or New York. Most people think that Riesling has to be sweet, but you'll find these wines ranging anywhere from tart and lemon-limey to as rich as apricot juice. Many people think of Gewürztraminer in the same way as Riesling, which is to say, light and sweet. Gewürz, as we like to call it, may be a bit sweet when it's made in America, but it's always quite intense and aromatic, like rose petals mixed with orange juice. Chenin Blanc is a chameleon-like variety that varies from cheap and sweet to full-bodied and dry, but most often you'll find it to be soft and mild. Sauvignon Blanc is distinctive because of its grassy, herb-like bouquet, which is an instant giveaway. These days, it's being made well in places from California to France to New Zealand, sometimes with the spicy aromas of barrel aging, but often as tangy as grapefruit. Chardonnay is the most popular white wine variety, and the Chardonnay grape is one versatile grape. It produces a wide range of wonderful full-bodied wines that can be intensely aromatic from the spices extracted from oak barrels. These spices are half the fun of the wines. You'll get aromas like black pepper and ginger and clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. The Pinot Noir grape can be as difficult to grow as it is to turn into good wine, but the effort is worth it. Pinot Noir, the wine, is a light-bodied red that offers gentle, delicate flavors. Merlot has rapidly gained in popularity over the last several years, because it's considered user-friendly. By that, I mean Merlot appeals to even the most novice wine drinker because it's medium-bodied and fruity and less tannic than a Cabernet Sauvignon. Now, some of you may be familiar with Sangiovese, the wine, produced from Sangiovese, the grape, which is now being planted throughout the Americas. The grape is gaining in popularity in this country as we try to make Italian-like wines outside of Italy. In its most famous Italian form, the wine of Chianti, it's as rich and tart as a bowl full of cherries. Syrah or Shiraz may be the next Merlot. It's gained in popularity for the same reasons. It's rich and fruity, but often soft. Whether it's grown in California, Washington, South Africa, or even Australia, expect to serve a lot of this wine. Which brings us to the full-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon. If Chardonnay is the vanilla of white wines, this is the chocolate of reds. This rich, velvety wine is the perfect match for a great steak, a loaded burger, or any other full-flavored meal. Zinfandel is most often consumed as a white or pink wine, so maybe you're surprised that we're listing this after Cabernet in our order of richness. But when it's a red wine, as it often is, it's a powerful and fruity wine that handles full-flavored foods as well as it does pizza. So, there you have them, the big dozen. Know your way around these whites: Pinot Grigio, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, and Chardonnay, and the reds: Pinot Noir, Merlot, Sangiovese, Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Zinfandel. And you can be confident that you are well prepared for wine service. Of course, a guest may ask you something you don't know. That's okay. Do not panic. Tell them you don't know, but you'll be happy to find out.
Okay, you know something about what's inside the bottle. Let's take a look at what's outside the bottle, the label. Wines are labeled differently depending upon where you are on the planet. Basically, wines are named after the grape variety from which they are produced, say a Cabernet Sauvignon. Or they are named for the geographic region where the grapes are grown, Chianti for example. There are less than 25 important grape varieties, but thousands of geographic names.
So you've got them all memorized, right, John?
Actually, no one expects you to memorize anything. You don't have to. All you need to know is right here on the label. The most important piece of information on this label is the variety. I see that this Chardonnay is vintage dated. Ah, a very good year. To be vintage dated, 95% of the grapes used to make this wine must have been harvested in that year. The appellation or origin tells us where the grapes were grown. The brand name is, you guessed it, the brand name, which is not necessarily the name of the winery that produced the wine. There you have it. You know the basic wines and how to read the label. Let's get to the good part. Let's have a taste. Of course, before we taste, we have to open the bottle.
Did I hear groaning out there?
You might. And there's a reason. A recent survey tells us that the #1 reason servers don't offer wine is because they are intimidated by opening the bottle. Some even suggested they'd rather have a root canal.
Please, you can open a bottle of wine at home, so why not at someone else's table?
That's right. So in just a few minutes, those of you with a fear of opening are going to be over it.
The wine has been ordered from the wine list that you gave to the host as the table was seated. You present the bottle to the host with the label facing out, and you say the name of the wine and the vintage date if there is one. By the way, the table is an acceptable surface for opening the bottle, but with practice, you'll probably find it just as easy to hold the bottle while you open it. With the small knife on your good corkscrew, cut the capsule cleanly beneath the lip of the neck. Put that piece in your pocket. Wipe the top of the bottle with your towel. Now insert the tip of the corkscrew at an angle and slightly off-center. This helps to prevent the cork from breaking. Turn the corkscrew just until it's fully into the cork. Now hook the lever of the corkscrew onto the rim of the bottle and hold that in place with the thumb of your hand that's holding the bottle. Using your thumb like this really makes a difference. Lift up the corkscrew in one firm, slow motion until the cork is fully extracted. Sometimes corks break. Don't panic. If more than a third of the cork remains, try the corkscrew again. Insert it at an angle and twist it so that it just goes through the remaining cork, and then pull that out. If the cork is crumbled or if too little remains, you'll probably want to get another bottle. Make sure you know your restaurant's policy in this situation. By the way, this is a synthetic cork. It's made of molded plastic. This type of cork is being used more frequently because it eliminates the problem of corkiness, which is a moldy smell and taste that's caused by a bad cork. Removal is the same procedure as for the real thing.
Here's another bottle that frightens people.
And with good reason. The amount of pressure inside a champagne bottle is awesome, which means a launched cork could be a weapon.
That said, this opening process is also simple with practice. Just be sure to point the bottle away from your guest or the owner's antique pottery.
Remove the foil wrap and untwist the wire. Keep your thumb over the wire cage the entire time. Do not remove the wire. Simply grab the entire thing. The wire will actually make it easier to hold on to. If you like, place your towel over the cork. Keeping a firm grasp on the cork and wire, slowly twist the bottle off the cork. Slowly. The sound you want to hear when the cork is free is a gentle sigh, a soft ah, not a loud pop. While popping and spraying may work well for the winner's circle, most people don't appreciate losing half a bottle of champagne due to server error. So you see, with practice, any opening can go smoothly.
Doug, what about the cork?
Well, there was a time when checking the cork was a necessary part of the opening procedure, but not anymore. Simply place the cork to the right of the host's glass. Wipe the rim of the bottle and pour an ounce or two of wine into that glass. Be sure that after you pour, you twist the bottle slightly, then lift it away from the rim. This will prevent dripping, but you should always have a towel with you to catch the inevitable stray drip. Once the host approves that wine, you can pour for the guests. Moving clockwise, serve from the right, filling glasses about 1/3 full depending upon their size. Some of us do like to swirl, you know. The host's glass is always filled last. After the wine is poured, place the red wine bottle to the right of the host on an underliner or a saucer. White wine should be placed in an ice bucket near the table or in a chiller on the table. Occasionally, the wine is bad or the host just doesn't like it. Be sure you know your restaurant's policy when a customer refuses a bottle of wine, good or bad, but it's never a good idea to argue with a customer. Be sure to pay attention to glass levels during the meal. Refilling glasses as needed allows you to monitor the amount of wine left in the bottle. Always ask the host if another bottle is desired. Just remember to be conscientious and don't overserve.
Now the fun part, the tasting.
And it is fun. Tasting wine should never be intimidating. There's only 5 basic tasting steps. Just think of the letter S.
These steps are not just some weird ritual. They really help you judge the quality, and more important, they enhance your enjoyment of the wine.
The first step is to look at the wine, to really see it. Pick up your glass by the stem and hold it in front of a white napkin or a white tablecloth. Tip the glass away from you and look at the color and the clarity of the wine. Color's important because it gives us our first clue as to the style of the wine. As a rule, a darker color indicates more body. Red wines range from deep purple to amber. White wines range from pale greenish yellow to deep gold. Color also tells us about the age of the wine. The browner a wine is, the older it is, and that's true for reds or whites. Next, we swirl. So what's this swirling thing anyway? Is it an affectation or is it really necessary? Yes, there is a point to swirling. Wine's flavor molecules are given off only on the surface of the liquid. When you swirl the wine, you maximize its surface area and you release more of the bouquet. As you swirl, lift the glass to your nose and sniff. Smelling the wine is such an important part of the tasting process. Think about how smell affects your enjoyment of food and how a head cold keeps you from tasting anything at all. Smell the wine several times, swirling each time to release the bouquet. Think about what the different aromas bring to mind. Certain whites will remind you of grass or of citrus fruits, while some reds may be earthy or peppery. Now's the time you'll notice negative aromas as well, the scent of vinegar, of sulfur, of sherry, unless of course you're tasting sherry, or of a bad cork, which has a smell like wet cardboard. This means the wine is not good.
You've seen the color and you sniffed the bouquet. Now we sip. Take a sip and hold the wine in your mouth for a few seconds before you swallow. Notice sweet or sour, bitter or astringent, round and sharp, light or full, oily or even grainy and chewy. You'll find that the sweetness comes first, often on the tip of the tongue. Fruit may happen all over the place, and tannin, a bitter dusty substance in red wines, may happen next. Flavors of acidity or tartness may happen quickly, or they may take time. Everyone's experience is different.
An important last step is to savor. While you're savoring the taste, gauge the body of the wine. Think in terms of skim milk, milk, and heavy cream.
You learn the steps to tasting and the body feel of the wines. Now it's time to do some pairing.
I love to play matchmaker.
And food and wine are one of the greatest matches dating back to ancient times.
Wine really does enhance a meal. Whether it's a hearty red with a burger or a delicate white with a fillet of sole, wine makes that meal more enjoyable. And it's so easy for you to play matchmaker if you just remember that the single most important aspect of food and wine pairing is body, not color.
The basic color rule, as you know, is to pair white wines with fish and white meats like chicken, and red wines with red meats. Ultimately, this traditional pairing concept really relates to body, so it still works to a degree.
But it's limiting. By mirroring food to wine based on body, you can create wonderful combinations of white foods and red wines, or vice versa, and nobody will call the wine police. When you match body and texture of a wine to a similar body and texture of a food, you won't go wrong. How about a fish with a red? If we went by that color rule, that would be illegal. But this delicious broiled salmon will be perfect with a Pinot Noir. And meat with a white, the body of a Sauvignon Blanc, is the perfect match for this veal. And remember, sauces play a major role in pairing because they can completely change the taste and the texture of a dish. So a lightly flavored sauce can complement a delicate wine. But a heavy sauce needs some body in its wine partner.
Just think body to body. There are a few foods that can't be paired with a complementary wine. Those that can be difficult are very spicy foods. These can work well with wines that are slightly sweet. The key is to avoid very tannic or acidic varieties.
And if the food is incendiary, well, maybe a fire hose would be more appropriate. But don't worry about it. People often order what they like, regardless of the food. As for dessert, a simple rule of thumb is to be sure the wine is as sweet or sweeter than the food. Just remember, body to body.
Well, what do you think? Are you feeling good about your wine knowledge? Are you comfortable opening a bottle of wine or champagne? Are you confident that you could suggest a red wine with fish?
It's great to be confident. Confidence makes you a better server. The more you can share with your guests, the better their experience will be. The wine experience should never be daunting, not for the person ordering it, nor for the person taking the order.
Pair yourself up with wine. Enjoy it. Learn more about it. Whether you're pouring a glass for yourself and friends or for a table of customers, you'll find that wine is always rewarding. You and wine, it's a great match. Cheers.